we had like a blind call in from the website, and we thought it was a joke. So he's like writing from Discover. We need a partner to help us rewrite our entire, mobile suite of applications from the ground up. A couple million users and like 1-star reviews. Like, it was really bad. So they reached out and said, we're interested in having you, pitch to take on this whole mobile program. And I don't remember the exact amount, but it was like millions of dollars. We put all hands on deck. It was like, okay, like if we get this, like it is going to change the firm overnight. It was like the firm was small enough at the time where you can kind of fit everybody in one room. And so everyone was excited, like, all right, let's do it. They had their kind of IT team and the business team, and we had to sell them both because they were both stakeholders for it. So the IT team was like, we did all the craft stuff, right? And they loved it because they're like, oh my God, like, look, it's like clean code and like nice, all these, nice mobile DevOps no one else is talking about. And it was like all these things and then the business side was just like, not impressed. They're sitting in our little office. We had like this boardroom table with this like hand-me-down, like, a terrible wood boardroom table, and they're all sitting there. And I got the story later, like the head of the business side was like texting the head of the IT side, like, there's no chance that we're going to go with these guys. Like during our pitch, he's writing this. But the IT side like went to bat for us and said, listen, I think these guys are exactly what we need. And so the business side kind of begrudgingly went along, and we won half of the deal. In the half of the deal, basically what they said was, we're going to let you rebuild the iPhone app. We're going to have our current vendor rebuild the Android app. And what sold it, what they told us, what sold it for them, actually, like I'll tell the second half of the story in a second, but they brought us in for a final pitch. The final meeting, we went to their offices in Riverwoods, and we brought the team that was going to work on their account, every leader of every team. And we had each person stand up, and it was like, I'll never forget. It was like our lead designer like stood up and, my name's Jess. I'm going to lead the design effort. I've done these things so far. This is what I envision for what we need to do here. Like, she introduced herself in context of like, I'm going to be your person for design. I am going to be your person for QA. I'm going to be your lead engineer. I am going to be your, Scrum master. I'm going to be your program. Clearly knew their shit. Clearly like were ready, clearly cared. This is the team. If you give it to us today, this is the team. And that's what they told us later, is that's what won it. They're like, all right, let's go. When you're small, like the nimbleness and the agility and the control that you have are like your biggest assets, right? We started and it didn't start off great. I mean, because we had to ramp the team quickly. We didn't necessarily like have our shit together for something at this scale. It was kind of like rickety, and we were hiring all these, and there weren't a lot of people out there that knew like how to build iPhone apps, 2010 or whenever this was. So like, the client came to us and was like, listen, I see the potential here, but it's not going great. We're going to give you guys a milestone. It was like 3 months away. If you don't hit it, it's going to be over. Gave the other team that we were competing against, like the ones building the Android app, the same challenge, to their credit. Like, holy shit, this is really it. Like, we got 3 months to figure this out. And if, it was like everything was riding on it, and we brought everyone back together. And I remember like we were all sitting in the same room together. I did two things. One, I told the story of 300. You remember the movie 300? But it was like the Spartans against the Persians, and it was the Battle of Thermopylae. The story was there was like this pass that the Persian Empire needed to go through in order to get to Greece. The Spartans went to go defend the pass with like 300. There was like 300 Spartans, and then the legend goes it's like a 1,000,000-man army. So these 300 people held out this narrow pass, and they held it off for a certain number of days or a week or whatever it was. But it was enough time so like Athens could come in and the Greeks could all get their stuff together, and then ultimately ward off the attack. But these 300 people basically battled this 1,000,000-man army and won. And so I was like, this is kind of what we're dealing with. Like we're this little band of like, 55, 65 people. And we've got this competitor that's hundreds of thousands of people. And we're both tasked with doing the same thing. And the only way we're going to win is if we have each other's backs. Because the Spartans did this thing where they would like hold the shield in front of the person next to them. So they could like then then like focus on using their spears, and they kind of created this wall of shields, and that's kind of how they held these guys off. But it was all about like protecting the person next to them in order for them to kind of form this, this phalanx or whatever they called it. And so we talked about that. We talked about the principles of servant leadership and the fact that this was going to be really hard, and there was going to be times where people were like really stressed and strained, and we need to understand where they are and like help those people, get them through it. Like the same thing that we talked about with the constraints earlier. And as a team, like we were going to be able to do this, but only if we like stuck together. And so, and around that same time, there was a brilliant developer that we had hired that had pulled me aside and said, the team's too green. They're never going to do it. He's like, but I think I could do this myself. I could build this whole thing myself. If you just let me work by myself at my house, heads down, I do nothing else. I will work 20 hours a day. I know I can do it. And he probably could. Like he was that good. But I'm like, if we have him do that, then, and we might even get past this 3 months, but we're not going to have a firm. We're not going to really have won anything. But his ultimatum was, let me do it this way or I'm leaving. Ultimately, I told him, look, we're going to do it the right way. And he left. And then the other carrot I gave everyone was, and if we pull this off, we're all going to Mexico. Like all of us are going to go. I don't know when, we're all going to go. It's going to suck. I know it's going to suck. Man, the team did it. Like they freaking nailed it. Like absolutely nailed it. And it was one of the highlights of my career, just watching these people come together and the leaders that kind of emerged out of that group, many of which are still leading the firm today. That client, we're doing almost 20 to 50 times as much revenue with them today. It's just grown into this great story that started with a pitch, but really was about, a firm growing up in the face of an incredible challenge.